Hey everybody, thanks very much for coming in. We hope you're all safe and well. Welcome to our special guest night with, our old friend. I don't mean old as in age, I mean old as in a while. I don't mean as in age, Charlotte Underwood and friend and very talented medium Brenda Dean, who's joining us for the first time this evening. So, good evening, ladies. Thanks for coming in. How are we both?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Scott. Thank you so much for inviting us. It's always lovely to work together with Charlotte, but yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. We've had her in quite a few times, and she never fails to amuse and impress every time. So I'll just say hi to John and Ariana. I think that is. Sorry if I've got your name wrong, dog. Ariana, Keely, Heather, Amanda. Thanks very much for coming in, everybody. So we've been on it before. Elaine's here as well, and Donna French as well. Hi, everybody. Andy Murphy and Amanda is in. Kate is in. Quite a few people watching so far, which is excellent. Sue's in as well. So welcome to everybody that's came in. So Ben, this is the first time we've had you in. Oh, sorry, Ronald's in as well. I'll try and catch up with all the names that come in.
We've got Ronald in as well. Brenda, do you have a TikTok you can have?
Oh, I wish I could see the feed. I love a bit of cheeky.
And doing your foot in your mouth already, Scott, and you evening, mate. Thanks very much, Andy. You know you're going to make me worse now that you've said that. I mean, I need to get rid of that comment. So as I was saying, thanks for coming in. It's always a pleasure to meet somebody new. So I know we spoke briefly on Messenger, what have you. Can you tell us how you got into the paranormal, where it all kind of started out for you?
So, who are you talking to, me or Charlotte?
Oh. You, Brenda.
Me, sorry. Oh,
yeah.
Am I asking? Sorry, Natalie. Right, okay. How did I get into paranormal? Okay. Well, if I tell you a bit about my mediumship journey, is that probably the best way to approach it? Certainly, I was quite traditional in my childhood in that my mum reported me having lots and lots of imaginary friends and talking to nobody. But it was, I think, the first sort of real experience for me, which made me aware of other dimensions seriously and as something external to me that gave me cause for concern, I suppose. I was about 5 or 6, and I'd been sent to go and get my brother for tea, and he was in the next door neighbour's house. And I went into the house, and in those days, back in the dark ages, you just walked into each other's houses, didn't you? Nothing was ever locked. And I walked all the way around the house, couldn't find him. Got upstairs, and in the back bedroom in our next door neighbour's house, I could hear chuckling, and I opened the door and I found a whole bunch of teenagers doing what I now know to be Ouija. And but I didn't know what it was, and they were all laughing and clearly having a very lovely time. But the 5-year-old Brenda sensed what they were doing, and I look back now and I've spoken to my brother about it, and it was the disrespectful way that I think was being done as well, which is what teenagers do, isn't it? They have fun with it. Is there sound problems? Am I all right?
Yep, you're fine, Brenda.
Okay. So it actually frightened me, and of course, my brother swore me to secrecy. I wasn't allowed to tell my mum, and to talk about it. So for years and years, I ran in the opposite direction of all things spirit, really, if it was mentioned. Now, my grandmother was a medium, and when I was about 15, my my mum suggested that we get out a Ouija board. And when I realised what it was, I said, no, I'm not doing that. I remembered all the negative experience that I'd had at the time, and it was quite fearful. And she persuaded me by basically telling me that we were going to do it whether I liked it or not, and I was going to be involved. And we had a friend round, and we had our finger on the glass, and it would only work when my finger was on the glass. So it was certainly an experience, but again, because it didn't come with any education, I was just relying on feelings, and my dad reacted quite badly to it. So I was quite fearful of all of it, and ran away, for a long time. Had experiences, lots of psychic experiences, knew who it was on the phone, knew I was a nurse by profession, so I knew when somebody was going to pass away, things like that, all sorts of stuff going on. And then when I had my second son, I almost passed away myself in childbirth, and that just blew all the doors off, basically. That spirit came knocking very loudly. So there I was with a newborn baby, and all kinds of experiences going on. And I would sit up and listen. So things like, tugging on my hair and vibrating bed and that kind of scary stuff. So that took me off to a spiritualist church because I felt unsafe, out of control, didn't know what to do with it. The rest is history, really. I went right through the church education system, and in terms of paranormal experiences, now I would love lots of paranormal experiences to take place around me so that I could actually work with it, but the fear's gone. So I think that was a very long answer to what should have been a short one, really. But
not at all. Everybody's got their story. Everybody's story starts somewhere. So it's good to find out the root of it all as to how it all started and how your journey started, because that's the interesting thing for people as well, to find out how somebody from everyday life starts having this sort of like feelings and emotions, and can then lead on to work with spirit, etc. So it's quite good to actually know how it started and where, because I can guarantee that there's a lot of people that have these sort of feelings just now that don't maybe understand them as well. So it's quite good to get it out there. That it is okay. It is okay to feel like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in difficult situations find their way like yours, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Looking for answers.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody's story is different, but at the same time it intertwines.
It does. I went to, my journey career. I'm not going to give you a big long story, but we just used to the spiritualist church there, Brenda, and also Charlotte. I know you the spiritualist church as well. I started studying the paranormal just through reading books, but then I went to the spiritualist church in Glasgow. There's many, all about Glasgow, but I went to the kind of main one in Glasgow, and I started going every single Sunday, and, just talking to people, talking to mediums, and it was amazing just how much it opened up for me, my interest in the paranormal and my understanding of it, just sitting down, talking to people, and it was, I wouldn't say it was a fear, it was more a kind of mystery to me at the start, but after I'd been to the spiritualist churches, kind of took that mystery away, and I realised a lot more, and it made me open up a lot more, so I think spiritualist churches, I know a lot of people have different views, some people put them down, and, but, that's life, but I would say, spiritualist church, and the people are so, and this might sound bad, what I found was the people were so friendly and welcoming. Even if you're a brand new face there, You walked in, you were greeted right away, and people would come over and talk to you. You know, you weren't left sitting in a corner somewhere. You know, just the whole atmosphere was so, you know, it was peaceful and very, very welcoming. And I loved it. I went for months and months, every single Sunday, you know. So how did you and our lovely Charlotte end up working together? How did you meet up?
I'm trying to think when we first. How did we first meet?
It was through the church.
Yeah.
At the beginning. Yeah, it was through my church at the beginning. Yeah. And I think just to explain to people, because I understand where Scott's coming from. So when you talk about the paranormal, Scott, obviously when you go to a church, it's predominantly you're looking at spiritualism rather than the paranormal. Okay, because the paranormal comes in under the bracket of everything that we do under the spiritual section, because people do think it's separate. It's not, because it intertwines a lot. But when you're going into these churches, you are actually looking at spiritualism of a whole, okay? And in that little bracket there, or big bracket, should I say, comes paranormal work. And I think sometimes that's where people, and I've come across it myself, people actually separate it as different things, and it's not. They're all under the same bracket, you know, because you are connecting to spirit, whichever way you look at it. But yeah, we met through the church, weren't we? And then I started doing work with your spiritual group, which I love, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and we worked in other places, haven't we? At Mimi's together and stuff like that. So,
we've done even some things, haven't we?
Yeah, we just like, we're sort of working close to each other, doing one-to-one readings. You know, in a few feet away, we like each other's energy. It's you know, so, but we don't get enough of a chance to physically get together these days, do we?
No, I know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you find Shelley coming in? I thought Shelley was going to join us there. Oh, yeah, she is. There she's here.
Hello. Sorry about that.
Hello.
Hiya. You all right, ladies?
Yeah, you?
Good.
There's one.
Okay, this is a very
one of those questions.
Are you okay if I answer this one, Brenda?
Yeah.
So there's no difference between a paranormal or a spiritual medium, because we are mediums, okay? And some of us choose to look at doing paranormal work, some of us choose to just stay within the spiritual bracket. So we are the same thing. The one thing that is different is how, for me, this is personally for me, is how I work when I work in a paranormal atmosphere to, say, working in a church or doing one-to-one readings, things like that. And they've cleared my nose. Can you hear? It's all clear now. It'll come back with a vengeance. I'm like, it's all the same thing. So when somebody says, oh, they're a medium, basically we are a vessel. That's what we are. We are a vessel for spirit. We have a gift that we have been given. With myself, as Brenda said, in fact, Brenda's experience from being very young, minus the Ouija board side, for me, was very, very similar. Very similar. And it frightened me too, from being a little girl. My great-great-grandma was a medium and things like that. So it's been my family for years. I was born with it like Brenda, you know. And for me, when it's a natural onset, it's different to, and Brenda knows this because we've had conversations, and you know, it's different. The way you work is a little bit different than where somebody starts to learn when they're a little bit older. Okay, because it's naturally inset in you, and because it's from birth. You know, obviously, as I've said on here before, we all have the ability to connect to spirit, but we all work really, really differently. So when we put to the question, the answer to the question of what's the difference between a paranormal medium and a spiritual medium, They're the same thing. It's just that all it is that for me personally, I just work a little bit differently when I'm working with the paranormal, in the paranormal field to the spiritual field. At the end of the day, I work all the time with 100% trust and respect for spirit. In whichever way I do it, it's 100% trust and respect.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes to, sorry, Forrest, if I
was just going to say, as somebody that's never been to a spiritual church, what happens if I was to walk into a spiritual church? Do I just take a seat, or does somebody come and chat to me?
Do you want to answer that one, Brenda?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really depends on the church, and I would urge you to get one recommended to you, really, because, you know, there's lots of different types of spiritualism, you know, that coming under one umbrella, but there is Christian spiritualist, there is SNU spiritualism, so that's the Spiritualist National Union, and there's also independent churches. And people will often be put off by the word church, because what they're not looking for is religion. They're looking to explore perhaps a belief system. You know, there's a lot of people that believe in the afterlife, but don't necessarily believe in a particular religion. Okay. So I would always go to get recommendations. So are you in Wales, Forrest?
No.
No, you're not. Sorry, I'm just, because I see that it confused me. I don't know where you're actually located, but I would, you know, get one recommended. Where are you?
I'm in Shropshire at the moment, but I do know of one in my hometown back in Wolverhampton that my friends had been to. I just never got round to going, so I'd have to look around the area.
Yeah, so if you're looking for the more religious side of it, then go to what they call the divine services. But if you're not really interested so much in the religion, just as looking for evidential mediumship, then most churches do an evening of mediumship every week as well. So you don't have to, they open and close in prayer, and it's out of respect for the process. Like Charlotte said, everything that we do is about respect, no matter where we work within our mediumship. But a lot of, if I want, for want of a better phrase, church mediums don't so much do paranormal work, partly because I think they're frightened of it. And I feel that wherever there's fear, you've got a problem. You know, if you approach, no matter what the situation is with spirit, if you approach it with mutual respect, exactly as Charlotte says, and we're looking to work together here, then there really is nothing to be afraid of. Certainly for me, I'm nowhere near as experienced as Charlotte. I wouldn't call myself, you know, a paranormal expert in any shape or form. I do house clearances, for example, and more often than not, when I get there, what's wanted is a reading, because it's somebody desperately trying to get the family's attention,
right?
So
Okay.
they can have their say about whatever's going on, you know. So, but where there's fear breeds this negative approach, I think, to paranormal. But you guys know far more about that than me. I'm not going to teach my grandma to suck eggs tonight.
No, you're 100% correct on that, because fear, and this is when you come on paranormal, when people go on paranormal investigations, you say you get somebody new that's never done it before. The thing that they come in is ultimate fear because of what they've seen on TV. You know, and I always say to people, it's not like it is on TV. You can go on investigations and not get a single bean, but I would prefer that, because that's honesty, you know, and you can't fake something. It's just not the way to do it. You can't. And and like Brenda said, when you put fear in the works, that's not a good thing, you know. And you have to go in with, irregardless of what situation the person, and I will say person who has passed, when you're going on investigation, irregardless, we still have to respect them, because 9 times out of 10, you know, we have residual energies, and as you guys know, you know, they just go about their daily business. So it's like we're not there. So we're watching like a film reel.
Yeah.
you know. So we have to respect. It's like, obviously, when you see them going through walls, those walls weren't there before, you know. So we have to, you should really look at, before you go on investigations, and you should look into it properly. And like Brenda said about the church side, actually get somebody reputable to go with on an investigation that does them all the time, that is professional. You know, that's very, very important. I can't stress that enough, because if you have somebody that's professional and knows what they're doing, safety 100% is there, and fear isn't taken on board.
I certainly reflect very early on in my development. I found myself in a rescue circle, and I didn't know what a rescue circle was. I was just invited to join it, and when I got there, it freaked me out a bit, because, you know, I'm, as Angela Lindsay very kindly said earlier on, I'm also a trance medium, so that means spirits blend very closely with me and can, to some extent, speak through me. And, you know, in this rescue circle, troubled people, you know, troubled in spirit, and I didn't know how to control the energy, to work with the energy, and, you know, but it's all part of life's rich development tapestry, isn't it, that we have to learn these things. You never end up somewhere by mistake, is because you need that piece of experience. So I don't regret being in that circle, but ongoing rescue work isn't an area that I've chosen to go into. So,
Donna, question, could you please explain the difference between a psychic and medium, if there are any?
well, yeah. Do you want to go first, Charlotte? And then, if my view is slightly different, because I've got a funny old view on this one. So
yeah. So Brenda knows my view on this one. Brenda knows my view on this one very, very well, and I am not a fan of the word psychic, I have to say, and I make it very well known that I am not a fan of the word psychic. And it's not that, obviously I do teach, and I do teach people that there is a psychic connection, for want of a better word, but it's something that doesn't sit with me very well, because for me, that for me, it's your perception of how you have messages put across to you. I don't have a very, very big, you know, and this is no disrespect to any psychic mediums out there at all, because there are some very good, but I will hence the fact that it says medium at the end of the word psychic. So you're always going to have psychic medium, because they are a medium. Okay, they are connecting to the spirit. Sometimes I do feel that the word psychic is overused, and I do feel it's given a poor view sometimes, you know, because there are, for me, when I am teaching my students about a psychic connection, so as Brenda said before, it's about, sometimes with the psychic connection, you can see things that are coming. It's foresight, so you're getting shown these things, you know. So say, I don't know, let's use a name, Bill. I'm just using a name here. Oh, Bill's going to call me in an hour, and then Bill calls in that hour, you know. And actually, for me, I just think, hold on a minute, because I don't work on, I do not work on a psychic level. I work as a spiritual medium, but I can still get things through where I know it's coming, you know, but I don't connect on that psychic level. And I know, obviously, we all have different views, we do, but Brenda knows that word is not a love of mine. And I'm going to let her carry on.
Okay, well, before I say anything, I will say that I'm going to disagree with an awful lot of my peers out there in what I'm about to say, because it is said that all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. And I think this has been said in order to create some pecking order and hierarchy, and, you know, to try and give an impression to the world that mediums are superior to psychics. They're not. They do a slightly different job. But my view is that even if we're picking up psychically, so if I'm doing a one-to-one reading with somebody and I'm pick up things that's going on about their life, that is said to be psychic. And a lot of people think that psychic tells the future. They don't. They might be given that, but it's not necessarily about the future. If you imagine, we are all spirit in a physical body. Do you guys agree that we're walking around as spirit in physical form? Okay. Now, I can come up to you, and my spirit in me can link with your spirit in you and tell me things. Because I've become more used to listening to my own inner spirit, that I can pick up things from you psychically. I also believe that getting information psychically is spirit. That is because we are spirit, if that makes sense. I know it's a little, some mediums will absolutely disagree with me. I'm sure there's people putting comments, you know, at the moment that we can't see, but that's my thought. So what we have to do is we have to learn by fine-tuning. Yes, we're naturally more adept. Everybody is a medium. Everybody can learn to tune into their own loved one. They don't need the light of us to give them a reading if they would have that trust that Charlotte talked about, you know. But of course they want it. Now, the other thing about the difference between a psychic and a mediumistic reading is evidence. I can come and I can tell you all kinds of wonderful things maybe about your life and what's going on, but I'm not proving survival of human or, in the case, animal spirit. So what spiritualist mediums do, they have to look for proof of survival. So I've got to get information for you about Dad, about Grandad, about, you know, in order to prove that that's the person communicating. I hope I've explained that. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's that evidence.
Yeah.
Proof. And it's mediums like Charlotte and I that are always striving. Where's your proof? Prove who you are. Don't just tell me everything's going to be all right and she had her nails painted red yesterday. Tell me who you are to know that, and how are you walking beside, you know, that lovely person in their life.
I've put this comment up, everyone, because there's been a few people in the chat that are hearing a male voice come through whenever anybody's trying to talk.
I think there's a bit of backfeed, and I think it's coming from Scott's side. So I think when somebody's talking, I've been muting because it's the best thing to do. It'll stop it happening for whoever's talking then.
Right.
Okay. So can I go back to something that Brenda mentioned earlier about obviously doing a cleansing in a house, and you sometimes you when you get there you actually end up having to do a reading because there's something or someone trying to communicate. I had a conversation with Charlotte before we actually came on live regarding a friend of mine, and it was in regards to things happening within the house and affecting a small child. So obviously, Charlotte, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to name the person, etc., show videos, but you have seen them. What's your thoughts on that? What do you think?
So with my experience of watching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos and seeing hours of footage, that little boy is looking at, so he's petrified, absolutely petrified. And I have to say, in all my years of seeing these videos and things, that is the most petrified I've seen a child. Okay. And very, very quickly, as you know, something that happened when the camera turned in the footage, I saw a gentleman stood in the doorway. Now, I'll explain a little bit if that's all right, but obviously no names.
Yeah.
But with the child being so young, you can have outside influences, as I said, such as YouTube, things like that. They accidentally click on something, they might not know how to use it, but if somebody puts YouTube on, they click on something and then it brings something up and it sticks and it becomes a nightmare. Now, with him, he looked directly towards
that
the
door
that was stood there, and he was when he turned back round, he was absolutely petrified. But I absolutely, and this is one of the things I asked you, is are they doing any work on the house? And you said to me straight away, they are decorating. Okay, so what can happen is the equilibrium can be broken between spirit and ourselves. And it may be, sometimes they don't like it if you're doing something that's different to the house when they were there. Sometimes it's, hold on a minute, they're upsetting my area. This is my area. Okay. And then other times it could be if they've had a passing recently, or, you know, within the last few years, it could be somebody just coming, like Brenda says, trying to get a message across. Now, with that particular video, I am going to have a look at it again, okay? But I do certainly feel that they need a clearance, okay? And there are some mechanisms that I can give, but it needs to be that somebody comes to the property also.
I have said that.
Yeah. Now, some people could argue actually that you can get rid of something with just thought scent, okay? But because I am a mum, and because I have young children, it's very, very important to me that that is done correctly, okay? And I just feel that also the cleansing needs to be done around the child.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say to you, I don't feel it's anything untoward. I will say that, okay? However, with a young child, they don't know the difference.
No.
Okay. And because spirit is saying to this little boy, don't tell mummy, okay, that indicates a little bit, actually, spirit aren't behaving themselves here. Okay.
Manipulation in a way.
Not necessarily manipulation. I won't say that, because I want to just say to you, sometimes they can take a little bit of advantage, and Brenda knows this. Spirit can be like children. Okay. You know, and so in this situation, this little boy has been absolutely petrified, and I want to make sure that this is cleared for him, because the very fact that mum was also getting very upset as well, because he wouldn't move from that one spot. What she needs to do, I'll come. I don't think it's here that needs to be talked about, but she needs to have a little safe haven for him, okay? And if it can be either his, because one thing that I won't have, okay, is spirit coming into my bedroom, okay? It's my sanctuary, okay? And she needs to create a sanctuary for him. And there's lots, we'll go into it off air, because there's lots of things we can do, but this is not a problem that can't go away, put it that way. Okay. And I just feel that at this time, that spirit is just, it's like he's picking a little bit at the little one, because he's only little and he doesn't understand. Okay, so that is something that we can deal with. It's not a problem.
Do you mind if I jump in a little bit? I know I haven't seen any of this footage, but I'm listening to this sort of partly as Brenda the medium and partly as Brenda the homeopath. I also practice homeopathy. Now, what Charlotte's talking about here is one of the most important things you can do for any child is to educate them. Education helps to deal with fear. And I was saying earlier about fear feeds situations. And of course, we know, don't we, if mum's frightened of the dentist and takes the children to the dentist, they pick up on her fear, and the children, even though they've never had anything negative happen, become fearful of the dentist. So, you know, there is this situation that can go on and perpetuate, but also some children, if they've not perhaps been well recently, or they are generally hypersensitive to their environment. And I'm not saying this is the circumstance with this child, because I don't know anything about it, I haven't seen the videos or what have you. But sometimes they can open themselves up psychically, like we talked about earlier. So the spirit within them, which is very, and better mediums, and Charlotte and I have never been. Little children are born natural mediums. you know, and it's as we get older that we lose that ability to connect. So I would just say that there might be reasons around a child or an adult, they suddenly start having experiences where, and when I talk about being unwell, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about mental illness here, you know, or anything that might be perceived as negative. I think most of us know in the world now that it's not a negative subject. But what I mean is the child's sense of balance is just not great right now. So if there's around the family to make, or the child's just started school and is having a bit of a wobble, you know, all of these things can make the child more susceptible psychically and go through a period where they're hypersensitive. You know, a lot of kids around these days who might have sensory disorders like autism, for example, somewhere on the autism spectrum, and they're very, very sensitive to their environment as a whole. So it's not just the physical environment, it's the psychic environment too. So, you know, it's about achieving balance again around the child. And if that involves actually education, then so be it. You know, and that's a great thing to grow up with, a healthy sense of grandma's gone to heaven, but grandma can come and see it.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? It's a
I get you. Because she was saying to him, she was obviously trying to make him feel less scared by saying, look, everything's all right, mummy's here, etc., etc. But she tried to get him to explain as to what he was seeing and what he was hearing, and he kept holding his ears as if he was trying to block out the noise, and then he held his lips together as if to say, I can't tell you. So, and obviously that's
I am going to say I do agree with Brenda as well, because I've heard obviously Mum in the video, and Mum, fear is exuding out of Mum, so he will pick up on that. Okay, that's not to say that, I mean, that there is definitely something in that property, because I saw it with my own eyes. Okay, but as I said, I don't feel it's of a negative side of things. I just feel that this is somebody that wants to make contact, and I just feel that, as Brenda said, about the disorders that are around. I've got a child that's, well, 2 of my children have got autism, and something that was explained to me when I was learning about the disorder is these children have 1 foot on the earth plane and 1 foot in spirit world, so they're uber connected. Not that we are saying that's what he has, please don't think this, but that little boy does have special ability. He does have ability, and as Brenda said, all children can connect to spirit. They can. It's natural, and we do switch off, after as we get older. But with him, he's just at that point where he needs to see stability, and I just have a little bit of an inkling that somebody around him, somebody older, possibly an older sibling, he's hearing things that are being said, and I think that's been taken on board also in here.
So just what you said there about having like abilities, he actually came out with a comment to his mum and said that somebody had told him, you've got superpowers like Spider-Man. He says, but his words were, I haven't got webs coming out my hand, my power's in my mind. This came from him.
God.
This came out of his mouth. That's what his mum was saying. It's so grown up way for him to be speaking.
But this is the one thing that you need to remember as well with when they say about children that they've been here before. Okay, he's one of those kids that has been here before. I saw that straight away within seconds of that video running. I think Brenda's 100% correct, and it is about education, because it's about embracing what gifts he is being shown at this time. You know, it really is. And mum needs to just back away from the fear side. And the thing that I can help with, or Brenda can help with, you know, with any clearance, is actually have contact with the spirit that is there.
Yeah,
you know, and actually see what that spirit wants. Because Brenda's right, the 9 times out of 10 when they do a clearance, they do need a reading because they're trying to get something across.
Yeah.
You know, and I just feel that, and that's why I said to you from the offset, does he have access to YouTube? And I just feel that some of it, I know obviously he's a bit too young to be able to work YouTube, but I do feel some of it he has seen something and his mind is computing it in a different way.
I'll tell you, can I jump in just for a second? I use these. These are children's angel cards. Okay.
Oh.
So for really little children, so you're kind of like doing a little tarot reading, but you know, if they come home from school and they've got a worry today, let's find an angel card. What does your angel say? Oh, your angel says protection, you know, and this is
brilliant.
You're afraid Archangel Michael to protect you, you know. And then you can start to talk to children about these things. And I love these cards live. I often have them around where if it comes up that there's a child in distress and spirit wants to talk about that. But they're a lovely thing for any family to have in the household to start those conversations. They're really comforting, I think. But
I love that idea. I love that idea.
Well, I know she's listening, so thank you very much for your insight. I'm sure she'll take it on board and listen, and hopefully gives her some peace of mind as well.
Can I just say something to her? She needs to take a little bit of the load off her shoulders, because I know she's worrying, okay? But she just needs to step back and look at the bigger picture, okay? And actually, I can't remember, I know you did tell me her name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But you're doing okay, okay? And any insecurity that's there, just let it fly off, okay? And I always say let it dissipate into the air, because I just feel like she's sort of not blaming herself, but she's taking some of the responsibility on as to why this is happening. Sometimes you can't. You just need to use that education. And I'm glad Brenda showed those cards, because they are beautiful. And it's
lovely.
It's a fantastic way to incorporate, you know, the learning for children. It really is.
Thank you very much, ladies. That was fantastic. I'm sure she'll really appreciate that.
No problem.
Hopefully it's took a wee bit, you know, off her mind.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Good. I'm just going to turn to some of the quite a few comments and questions as well. They've been kind of building up. If you're okay for me, click onto them, and there's a few people get some questions for you in the chat. Laura Moore, sorry. So it's paranormal, the spirit touch you, etc.
Okay, so the explanation of the word of paranormal. Okay, so you are basically, no, they don't always touch you. And yes, spirit can bring that energy close to you and you feel that energy, okay? The word of paranormal is basically, and for me, again, this is just my view, so obviously there's other views out there, but the word paranormal is used for people that are actually searching for something, okay? And you don't necessarily need to search when you are working, doing mediumship, you know, and there's lots of people that I work with in the paranormal field. They're all searching for answers, you know, and you will find that 9 times out of 10 people that go into the paranormal side of things have had experiences. That's why it draws them to it, you know. So in the way of, to explain that, yes, so people do feel spirit touch them, okay? Because of course they can touch you. They touched you when they were alive. They're going to touch you when they passed. It's still an energy, and this is what people forget. We are all energy, okay? Where do we think that energy disappears to? It doesn't disappear. We still have arms and legs. We still look the same, you know? But I do feel that sometimes the word paranormal is used in the wrong context, if that makes sense, because there's nothing nothing wrong with paranormal work. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And it should be dealt with the same way as it is with working with spirit on a normal basis, with mediumship and things like that. Because we are inquisitive as people, and that's what we are looking for, is for answers. And actually, my little thing of why I went into the paranormal was actually because of the history. And I love to get to know more about the buildings, and you can touch a building and just straight away, hundreds of years can just fly past me, and I can see how it looked in the 1950s, in the 1800s, yeah, and back and back and back. And that is what interests me, because I love the history of places.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I go off on that.
Does anyone have a spirit guide or guides? If so, what can we do to connect with them? From John.
Okay, shall I do that one then, Charlotte?
Of course, my lovely.
Okay, so yes, everybody does have a spirit guide. Everybody has a gatekeeper, is what I call them. You might hear them called guardian angel, you know, whatever your belief system is, but we all have that special someone. And we also have a spirit team. So they are our guides and helpers. They're basically the people that root for us from the spirit world. And our guides really come and go. Apart from our gatekeeper, they come and go, and they're with us for a reason and a season, just like people in our lifetimes. They're with us with a particular purpose, and some hang around for longer than others. Okay, I'm trying to remember what the second part of that question was. Sorry, Scott.
What can we do to connect with them?
Thank you. So what can you do to connect with them? Well, you can meditate. I would also always suggest that you get involved in a development circle with a reputable medium who can help you to connect with your guides. I know that that's something that Charlotte does. Most churches have open circles that you could probably go into, or centres. And certainly it's something that we do at Phoenix Spiritual Group. We run development circles, and at the moment even workshops on Zoom. And in fact, we do have a guide one coming up very soon with me. So I'm going to plug that, shameless plug, while I'm on. So it's really about teaching you, my love, to get your brain into a slightly altered state, because when we're working mediumistically and perceiving the spirit world, our brain waves are at a different level to normal everyday life. So in everyday life, when we're, you know, typing an email, our brain wave is doing a beta wave. Something that's autopilot, like you're driving along, you don't need to think about changing gear anymore. Your hand knows which gear this goes in. When you're washing up, it's mindless. You can daydream. That's an alpha brain wave. And then there's theta, and most of the work between alpha and theta for mental mediumship. There are other levels as well, but I won't go into that. But if you meditate, you'll find yourself somewhere between alpha and theta, and it's at that point, like tuning in an old-fashioned radio, you can tune into the spirit world for that moment in time and perceive your guides, and then get to know them, build your relationship with them, and that is magic. There is nothing more beautiful than a growing relationship with your guides, because they are here for us through thick and thin, and they literally do and can guide us through our lives. So, you know, good luck with your pathway on that.
Thank you, Brenda. Charlotte, here's one for you, my dear. Here's one about your singing.
I was a singing shit. Well, Brenda's known me quite some time now, and she knows I don't always sing. So I used to do professional singing years ago, and I grew up learning how to classically sing. I was in a choir when I was a child, so music's always been part of my life. And it's only the last, I would say, 6 or 7 months that Spirit have actually introduced bringing in song to the readings. And this actually leads from where Brenda was talking about the alpha and beta. Obviously, obviously when we listen to music, the different hertz can alter the brain waves, and and so it's really important actually. Music to me is a real driver, and obviously more so recently, and especially within my mediumship. And it's like literally, obviously some people have seen me do it on my page, on the church page, or wherever I've been working, and they will just throw a song at me, and they can sometimes just bring that song with nothing else, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 the information just starts coming. And it's just, I think sometimes it's just a way that people can work. We're all different. You're never going to get the same medium. You're never going to get, because we're all different as people, and I just love music. And I just feel that also when the music comes in, it just brings a higher level of the energy. It just raises that energy up. And you'll find that when people are working in a church, if you've got the audience sat in front of you, they'll turn around and go, right. So you'll get some mediums that tell a joke and it makes people laugh because it raises the energy, and it's about, if we have somebody there in front of us and then they're listening to you delivering a message, but they're not quite talking to you, say, I need to hear your voice, because spirit use energy and it's so important. And I feel that's the music for me.
I need to ask you this, Charlotte. I don't know if you've seen the previous one. We had the cast of the movie The Crumbs in a couple of months ago, and I got them all to sing. So just when you're talking, you're singing, it would be actually good if we could get Charlotte Underwood to give us even just one little chorus, maybe, or something. I'm sure I can get actors to sing and I can get Charlotte.
I will do, because now my nose is cleared a bit. So any song in particular?
You go for it, dog, whatever you want, just so I can say I managed to get you singing.
I'm going to bring a particular song, and it has a great meaning to me and my beautiful Wesley that passed. So I am going to bring this one. So I'm thinking about the years. There was only you and me. There we are. Look. We were young and wild and free. Now nothing can take you away from me. There's a lot that I could say, just hold me now, 'cause I will light the way. Is that all right?
Well done, Charlotte. That was spooky. Just as you went to sing that, Ronald put that up. That's amazing. Well done, Ronald.
Thank you very much, Sonny. That was brilliant. That was amazing. So you can come back again. Definitely. Donna French made a comment earlier on. Oh, Brenda, can Brenda sing?
No, I'd make your ears bleed. I very often bring through lyrics or the name of a song either as part of my message or as a special song. For example, sometimes Spirit will give us the songs played at their funerals and all sorts of things. But if I were to sing them, you would never ever tune in to me again. So I don't do what Charlotte does. It really. But where I do sing is where I sit in a physical mediumship development circle. So for a particular medium who's a physical medium and can manifest, physical mediumship, move objects and stuff like that, we sing there to raise the energy, and we rock it out with Queen very often to that, and it raises the vibration. So music is truly magical, but believe me, it's not a pleasant sight or a sound coming from me.
So no chance of a song then? No chance of a song.
Not going to happen.
You can
you ply me with drink. That's the thing to do, Scott. Take me out and ply me with drink, and then I'll sing, and you'll regret it.
Fine, Dot. I'll take you out, get you a couple of Bacardis or a couple of glasses. You tipple us, and I'll make sure I get a wee voice record and just, sing for me, Brenda. We'll get you. I will get you. I will get you to sing. I don't give up. I mean, Charlotte's saying that the song right behind you keeps changing as though someone's walking past.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. To be fair, obviously myself and Brenda had just got off doing a live, and Spirit will often, I can have, and Brenda's probably the same, I can have 15, 20 spirits stood behind me at one point, and they all line up very carefully and nicely, which sometimes, majority of the time. But obviously we have just, we've just finished working, so it doesn't surprise me that is the case, and obviously as soon as I've finished it will not be the case anymore.
one of my guys is a Geordie miner, and I often hear him say, form an orderly queue, because he'll only let one forward at a time, because otherwise it just overwhelms. I find it so overwhelming. But you've been
that's it, isn't it? Orderly queue.
Yeah, Angela's a gorgeous girl, so she's been in circles with me and music. Yeah, had a lovely time there. Yeah. Gatekeeper.
I will get a song out of you. I will get a song. Kate's asked what is a gatekeeper. I'm going to see, Brenda, the thing you learn about me is I always keep a pad and a pen beside me every time, and the girls will tell you I write everything down. And everything that goes into the pad usually always happens. So you're in the...
That's going to be a long weekend in Glasgow then, by the sound of it, isn't it, Scott? We need to come up and do something up there, and then you'll have to ply me with drink.
No bother, we do a nice...
Kate's asking what
a nice glass of buck.
Oh.
I am going to have Scott, just to let you know, I am going to have to get off in a minute because I've got somebody watching the children and they need to go. But yeah, in answer to, is it all right if I answer the question? So Kate, your gatekeeper is basically your protector that comes with you when they bring you into the world. They stay with you and they go with you when you pass. So they are your protector. They, as it says, they protect you. They look after you. They do help guide you to an extent, but obviously we do, as Brenda said, we do have guides, and we have a team of guides that come and go. It's the same with spirit animals and totems. It's the same thing. But your gatekeeper is, for me, is the one that you should cherish the most, and actually be thankful, and always be thankful that you're able to connect with spirit in generally, but definitely be thankful to your gatekeeper, because they're the ones that are there guiding you through this journey.
And invest time.
Thank you for that. Thank you. With Stuart's, where is it? I'm not sure. Are you on every night, aren't you? Let's talk about us. Sorry again. But more or less, Stuart, we like to try and do as many lives as possible, buddy. So it's more or less every night. We do have breaks now and again. But what we can do, ladies, is, if it's okay with you, is a challenge. You get your babysitter, and I know you were on prior to this at the Slough Church, so we can wind up there for tonight. If I can get the both of these back on, because I know there's a few people wanting to ask you questions. If that would be okay with the both of you, we can arrange another date to get you back again. We'll say there's plenty of questions to be asked. Is that all right, girls?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, so, I'll just keep these for 2 wee seconds after we come off, if that's all right. So, everybody, thanks very much for coming in, folks. I hope you've enjoyed as much as we have, and we will get the 2 ladies back very shortly, and we'll carry on with the rest of your questions. So we're back tomorrow night at midnight for Witches and Bitches. It's a late one because our guest is in Australia. So thanks for coming in, and we'll talk to you very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, take care.